In this beginner tutorial for Microsoft Access, you will learn how to use Microsoft Access to manage your data. We'll cover the following. 1. What is Microsoft Access and when should you use it? 2. Creating a new database. 3. Entering data into a table. 4. Querying the data in a table. 5. Sorting the data in a table. 6. Adding a new record to a table. 7. Deleting a record from a table. 8. Updating a record in a table. 9. Closing the database. Let's get started. Before we can work with Access, we need to install Access first. If you don't already have Access installed on your computer, do the following. Open up your Windows Settings app. Select Apps on the left-hand side. Then scroll down to the bottom of that page and click on Advanced App Settings. Next, click on the Optional Features tab. On this page, search for Access. Then if you don't see Access listed, click on the Add a Feature button. Search for Access again, and then click on Add. You will now see Access listed in the list of optional features. Click on the Access checkbox to install Access. Once Access has completed installing, click on the Close button. Now open Access. The first time you open Access, you will see the Start window. This is what you will see every time you open Access. There are 4 options on this window. We're going to go through each one of them, so you understand what each one is used for. The first option is to create a blank database. This option allows you to start from scratch. It's called a blank database because it doesn't contain any tables yet. The second option is to create a database from a template. A template is basically a pre-built database, so if you know what type of database you want to build, you can select from a wide range of templates here. The third option is to open an existing database. If you already have a database on your computer, you can find it by navigating through your File Explorer and selecting the file. The last option is to open a database from the web. If you're connected to the internet, you can access some sample databases hosted online by Microsoft. To create a new database, select the first option, Create a blank database. Then click on Create. Give your database a name. For the purposes of this tutorial, let's show you follow these rules. A name cannot be more than 255 characters in length. A name cannot contain any of these special characters, and a name cannot end with a special character. Once you've entered a name, click on the Create button. Your database is now created. You can tell Access created a file for your database based on the name you provided. Now click on the OK button. Now that we have a database, let's add a table to the database. Click on the Create tab, then click on the Table Design option. On this window, you can view the table you are creating. Currently it's empty. On the right-hand side of the window, you will see a list of all the different types of tables you can create. A table is basically a collection of data. In our case, let's select the Table option. Then we're going to rename this table to Customers. You can rename it to whatever you like. I'm going to select the word Customers. Once you've renamed the table, click on the New Field button. Enter a name for the first field. We're going to enter Customer ID. Press the Tab key on your keyboard to move to the next column. Here, select the data type for this field. We're going to select Short Text. This data type only allows you to enter short text values into the field. For example, ABC or 123. Once you've selected the data type, repeat steps 1 and 2 until you've added all the fields for your table. I'm going to add 3 more fields, 1 for the customer's first name, 1 for their last name, and 1 for their email address. Once you've finished adding fields, click on the Save button. You can now see the table contains 4 columns, 1 for each field we entered. The table currently does not contain any records, which is why it's empty. To enter data into the table, click on the Data tab. Then click on the option enter data into a table. We're going to select the customers table that we just created. And now we can enter our data. You can enter data one record at a time, one row at a time. In this case, we're going to enter one record for a customer. Enter the customer's ID in this cell, their first name in this cell, and their last name in this cell. Notice how you can move from cell to cell by pressing the Tab key on your keyboard. Finally, enter the customer's email address in this cell. Once you're done entering the record, click on the Add button. You can now see Access has added a new record to the table. Notice how the record is highlighted in green. Click on the OK button. We now have two options, either to enter another record or to close the window. We're going to click on the OK button. Now that we have some data in our table, let's query the data. A query is a way to retrieve data from a table. To create a query, click on the Create tab, then select the option Query. By default, Access opens up a query that selects all the data from your table. You can tell this by looking at the SQL statement at the bottom of the window. An SQL statement is simply a language used to query data. This particular query is known as a select statement because it retrieves data from the table. When you run this query, you will see the data displayed in the grid. Clicking on the Run button is equivalent to clicking on the green Play button. To stop the query from running, click on the Play button. If you would like to change the way the query looks, you can adjust the width of each column. Next, let's sort the data. Queries allow you to sort data in ascending order or descending order. To sort the data in our query, we need to modify the SQL statement. At the bottom of the window, you will see the SQL code for the query. You can edit this code directly. To sort the query in ascending order, add the following line of code to the end of the SQL statement. Order by first name ASC. This will sort the query in ascending order based on the first name. To sort in descending order, add the following line of code to the end of the SQL statement. Order by first name DST. This will sort the query in descending order based on the first name. Let's now add a new record to our table. Click on the Create tab, then select the option New Record. This will bring up the form view of your table. You can think of a form as a single record from a table. On this window, you can enter a new record into the table. Once you've finished entering the record, click on the Save button. Let's now delete a record from the table. First, open up the Customers table. Then click on the Data tab. Click on the Delete Records option. You will now see a window that lists all the records in the table. Click on the box to the left of the record you want to delete. Then click on the Delete button. Let's now update a record in the table. First, open up the Customers table. Then click on the Data tab. Click on the option Edit Records. You will now see a window that lists all the records in the table. Double-click on the record you want to update. This will bring up the form view of the table. You can now update the record. Once you've finished updating the record, click on the Save button. And finally, let's close the database. Make sure you click on the File tab. Then select the option Close. If you would like to save your changes, click on the Yes button. That's it. You now know how to use Microsoft Access. If you found this video useful, please consider subscribing to my channel. I will see you in the next video.